I'm just sitting in my little caravan, doing a little bit of work and a little bit of catch up in the peace and quiet of my garden, and it's just lovely. And I was just thinking about my children in school. I was thinking about the discussion we had last night, a regular one we have in our house, where we haven't really done any homework for a couple of weeks, to be fair. My girls are not interested in homework. It's not something they want to do. One of my girls does enjoy some aspects of homework, but in the main, when they come out of school, they've got all their own things they want to do. And they don't want to have to do what they're told to do for someone else's, need and agenda. And my son, who's about to start school, was just saying, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to have to do homework. And he was seeing in them the negative side of this. And we were talking about it last night. So I was just reflecting on that. And I was just thinking, there's always this internal struggle for me because we homeschooled for 18 months. I absolutely loved it. There were aspects that were really difficult about it. That were more practical problems, but the experience for the kids was brilliant, and for me to watch that was incredible. They blossomed, and what you see in your children is true human childlike nature comes through. And those that have children in school and always have been in school miss out, I think, on really seeing what happens to your children, that you can actually see these responsible, caring, creative, interested thinkers. They will choose what they're interested in through just living life. They will follow that through. They will learn. They do learn. You can trust that the education they get outside of schooling is safe and good and deep and meaningful and powerful. But you have to take the risk, and you have to go through the stage of what's called deschooling. They're so used to be told, if they're in the system, they're so used to being told what they're going to learn, when they're going to learn it, how they're going to learn it. The environment is set for them. They don't have the space themselves to be part of that creative environment. They are told what that environment's going to be like. And as it evolves and changes, they are not part of it either, because that's just not practical for a teacher or a school to have all the children involved in that. I guess there's small aspects of their involvement, of course, but I'm talking about total freedom to design and go with a more kind of natural, organic learning process. So I'm just reflecting on that. The world that we live in is magical. It's incredible. If we have more time in that world rather than sat at a desk in a classroom for hours upon end, or, and I don't want to criticise school too much, because the school that my girls go to now, which they went back to school to allow my husband and I to work on some projects that we're hoping are going to change the way that we live completely. So that was the family decision, to go back to school to give us more time. The school that they go to is brilliant, and as schools go, I'm really happy with it. But just the school structure and the system that's around that school doesn't allow that school the freedom to be anything other. And I think they do really well. They push the boundaries and they do really well with what they've got. But I'm talking about just getting rid of the whole idea of that system completely and starting from a completely different viewpoint. That actually the world that we have and the life that you live when you're just young and exploring and discovering things new is magical. The opportunities are everywhere for learning. Too much time where we're dulling down their environment and we're controlling it, and we're on screens and we're expecting them to do this and do that. It just creates them to switch off rather than open up. And I think that I see many times where they're enthusiastic about stuff at school, but more I see where they've been dulled down and they're switching off and they're not inspired and they don't want to be, they can't be bothered, and you get that kind of path. Now a lot of people I hear that, that's just kids, isn't it? Or that's just part of what they've got to learn in life. And I really disagree. I don't think that's just kids. I don't think kids are wired to be can't be bothered, argumentative, small-minded, tunnel vision, shutting down, a bit I don't believe that. I believe that they are live wires alive, electric, passionate, creative, much stronger than we give them credit for. We either cover them in cotton wool and don't allow them to have experiences, painful or joyous, or we're busy with our own lives and school is convenient and actually I can't engage with that thought too much because that's where they need to be. Whatever the reasons, there's many I know, life learning outside of school is an incredible opportunity. I think when we allow children to lead in their own kind of learning and we are there to facilitate and support and encourage and throw in a few, ideas every now and then, you see, their leadership skills coming out much more than you ever do in the whole of the system and the process of schooling. The gut reaction that they have in them to take a subject and learn more about it, to ask questions, to I want to do this, I want to do that. My middle child is so like this. I want to take this there, and I want to go and look at this, and can we go and talk to so and so about this? And I'm thinking, I've got an hour, I've got to get you into bed. You've got school tomorrow. We've got to get this, and I have to, in that moment, just shrink that passion, rather than if we were free in that moment with no school tomorrow, no boundaries and rules and regulations, got to be there at 9, I signed the late book, I could say, that is such a good idea to go and speak to Bob about why that happens like there. But I tell you what, Bob's not there till 9 in the morning, so we'll go at 9 and we'll ask Bob for 10 minutes explanation, and then off she'll go with another idea about what she wants to do with that information after that, and then you follow it. It's a luxury life, isn't it? Not to be at work and to be at home with your kids. It doesn't always have to work like that. I can't have my kids at home at the moment exploring their own education, being supported and facilitated by me, because I need a community around me in order so I can still progress life changes and income and, all that kind of thing. My frustration is that I'd like to be doing it now, because these are the years where they're young and fresh and I don't want them to be dulled down too much. But I'm not in a position to do it. But I do believe it is possible, and I do believe I probably could take them out and find a way. I'm just choosing to not at the moment, and they're happy where they are. My middle child still would prefer to homeschool. I think it's interesting when you're at home learning, is that the kind of things that your children choose to learn once you've gone through the process of when they want to be told what to do, how to do it, when to do it. You've gone through that patch. I mean, a lot of people, I can imagine, want to give up at that stage because it's hard. Your kids are wired a certain way and you're de-wiring them and saying, you don't have to wait for me. You don't have to have me spoon feed you all the time. No, I'm not going to tell you. What do you think? And you're asking back all the time. Once you get through that itchy stage, it's absolutely incredible what happens and what blossoms in our children. The work that they end up doing is far more meaningful than the work that, say, someone else has set and created for them to do. It's born out of their own interest, their own desire, their own passion. And most subjects you can bring in maths and science and all the other things that people, what about their maths? What about their English? You can bring it into almost any subject that they've chosen to explore, any project. It's all relevant, and there's wonderful creative ways of doing all subjects across one topic. But it's more meaningful. It's more meaningful if they have chosen it, if they're interested in it, if they're leading in it. It really, really has a more deeper impact. Goes in here, stays, they remember it, they make connections. But it's taking that risk, isn't it? But what if my child doesn't? Well, they will do, but you have to go through the itch. But I couldn't possibly have my kids at home because, they'd do my head in. I hear that a lot. And I think, well, yeah, that's because they're school kids. They're kids that are used to being told what to do and when to do it. Don't get me wrong, I have hung out with homeschool kids who do my head in because they haven't had some boundaries and they haven't had certain discipline and, all the other things I'm really passionate about, their safety, all of that kind of thing. I've been around homeschool families, and I'm sure we all have, that have put us off. But forget about all that and just think about your family. For me, just talking about my family right now, I would love to have them outside of that school, of all schools, and look to a school that just throws out those kind of curriculum Ofsted pressures and just says, let's let the children lead and let's create an environment where we can host and support and navigate with them and learn with them. And it's what a brilliant community setting. I'm hoping and praying that one day that will be our opportunity. It's a shame that this country has alternative schools, but a lot of them you have to pay for, and that's just inaccessible for a lot of us. And it actually feels really hard now to set up an alternative school. There's a lot of restrictions, as things stand at the moment, obviously we're coming up to a general election, which is exciting. Hopefully, we might have a change of government, which would be much more up for looking at alternative ways to educate our kids and freeing up those schools that probably, I think my local school probably would be a lot more creative and would throw open the doors a bit wider if they had the freedom to. I think another really exciting thing that happens when you're home educating or when you're learning at home together is just your relationship with your kids. You see much more naturally what they're interested in and how they work, how they think, how they process, how they heal, how they hurt. You're much more in tune with each other. They see that in you. They see those growing, journeying, those pains, those joys with you as well in you. And you become much more united as a family. And that is the most special gift of all, I think, is what happens to you as a family when you're at home together, sharing a much more natural, rhythmical way of life, following your opportunities and thinking outside of the box. I'm just thinking about that now. I need to get back to my work, but I just wanted to vlog about it because I know an awful lot of people are thinking about these things at the moment, and I think that it's important that we talk about them and we question about our kids' education rather than just blindly let them go through a process and through a system that ultimately might rob them of something very precious and very special and change their entire futures. If we actually really considered the alternatives, I do think there's more of us that could come together and support each other. I think there's more of a community experience where a group of people could say, I don't want my kids to be part of that system anymore, but I'm scared to have them at home on my own. I think lots of people would put their hands up to that. One of my big fears is that I can't spell and I can't do maths for love or money. I cannot do, I'm terrible. And my brain doesn't work in a kind of traditional educational sense. It really doesn't. I would have been a brilliant candidate for being educated alternatively. And so my gremlin always tells me, so your kids are going to really struggle because you're not going to be able to teach them that way. And I've got to get rid of that. But if we were part of a community of people that said, we all need to work, we all need to earn money, we don't always want to be with our kids, we do need a break, and we do need time to be in our working life, knowing that they're being safe and happy and fulfilled in another space. But let's come together because let's share time, let's share resources, let's share brain. I might be good at something that you're not so good at. Let me support and guide and nurture the kids in those ways. You can do the things that freak me out. I think there is that opportunity. I'm just wondering, pondering, questioning how that can be possible and how we can make that happen. Relationships are tricky and getting together in that way is sensitive, and it needs shared values from the outset and shared commitment. So I'm up for that, and I'm looking into it. So we'll see where we go. But right now the school is great, and I'm no drastic moves. My eldest wouldn't want to leave school anyway, so we'll ponder on.